my channel. So today I'll be making a tutorial on how to make a peplum top. So for this tutorial we'll be needing 2 yards of fabric, scissors, pin, tape, chalk, and my zip for the back of the top. But I won't be using the whole 2 yards, so 1.5 yards of fabric would still be enough to make it. So let's get started. So right now I have my fabric opened up wide. So I'm just going to, this is the whole fabric I'm working with. So I'm going to fold it into 2, just so I can cut the parts that I'll use as the peplum. So I folded it into. So the measurement I'm working with for the bottom of this, the whole measurement I'm working with is going to be, the full length of the top is 28. So 28, but I'm going to subtract from the whole top length. I'm going to subtract the upper part of the top, which is going to be the bodice part that is going to be fitted on the client. So that will be 17 inches. So 17 subtracted from the 28 inches. How I got the 17 is just the shoulder to the waist measurement. I'm going to subtract it from the total top length. That way I could get the flare that will come at the bottom. So I have 17 for this person. That's the shoulder to the waist. So if I subtract 17 from the 28, which is the total length, that will be, I'll have 11 inches left. So from that 11 inches, I'm going to add some inches to that for the folding, the seam allowance. So 11 plus 1.5 is what I'm going to cut. So 11 plus 1.5, that will be 12.5. So here, I'm going to cut it here now. So as you can see, I folded this in 2 and then folded it this way. So here I'm cutting it. So I want to cut the bottom before I cut any other thing. So I'm going to split it here, because I'm trying to manage the fabric. So this is going to be the bottom of the top. So I'll keep this aside. And then I'm going to cut the top part of this top. So the bust measurement I'm working with is 46 inches. And 46 inches, I'm going to divide it by 4. Because 46 by 4 is 11.5. So first, I'm going to check the length. So the client is 17 inches. I'm going to add 1 inch, which is, this 1 inch is going to be for half inch for the top and then ½ inch for the bottom, the seam allowance. So that will be 1 inch added. So I'm working with 18. I'm going to cut off this white part. So that's why I started with, like, I placed my 18 at the point where this white part stopped. So I'm working with 17 inches. So I'm just going to mark 17 up here. Just mark a straight line showing the 17 length. So now I'm going to check my width, and my width is supposed to be the biggest part of the upper body, which is the bust, the widest part of the upper body, which is the bust, and it's 46. So 46 divided by 4 is 11.5. So this is 11.5. So I'm going to add 1 inch to 11.5, and that will be 12.5. So I'm working with 12.5 for this width here. And the shoulder I'm working with is 16, but since it's going to 16 inches, but since it's going to be a sleeveless top, I'm going to subtract 1 inch. So that will be 15. and then 15 divided by 2 is what I'm going to use for the shoulder. So 15 by 2, that will be 7.5 is what I'm going to use as the shoulder measurement. So I'm going to mark this up to 10, move this way, and then make like a curve here. And for the waist measurement is supposed to be 40. So 40 plus 2 is what I'm going to do here. 40, which is, when you divide it into 2, is 10. And then 10 plus 1 for the dart is 11. Then 11 plus another 1 is 12. So I'm working with 12 here. So now that I've marked this, I'm going to mark this all the way down here. And then for the shoulder, I have to subtract 1. I'm going to mark 1 inch here for the shoulder slant, just to make this visible enough. So I'm just going to mark 1 inch here. This is the slant, because you know the shoulder doesn't go all the way straight. You have to give it 1 inch, because the shoulder goes down. It's slanted that way. So I'm going to mark for the neckline 3 inches. So then 3 inches come down here to 5 inches is what I'm going to work with. Then I'll mark my curve. So after the curve here, this is going to be my neckline. So from this dot here, I'm going to connect this to the slants, the 1 inch slant I made here. So now I'm going to cut out all the parts that has the chalk on. So guys, as you can see, I've traced out the front piece. So with this front piece, I'm going to trace out the back piece. But before then, let me cut off this white part that I talked about earlier. So I've gotten this out of the way. So now let's trace the back. So the only difference between the front and the back is that I want the back piece to have the zip. So I'm going to add like 1 inch to the back, the center back. So this is it here. I'm also leaving the white part I'm going to cut off from here. So this is going to be the zip allowance, which is here. So now I'm just going to trace this over on the back. So as you can see, it's 2 pieces for the back. So now I'm going to cut it out. So guys, I've gone ahead and I've cut the back, and then I've done the front. This is my front piece. As you can see, it's 1 whole piece this way for my front, and then this is going to be my back piece here. So this is the back piece. This is supposed to be where the zip would be, and then I'll have a dart going up this way, like I have a dart. Just to shape the outfit, I'm going to give it a dart all the way up, and then in front I'll also have a dart in front here, all the way here, like about 11 inches coming down to here. From the shoulder down to 11 inches is where my dart will stop, coming up from here. So that is it for the top part. Gone ahead and I've done the neckline. I've folded all the sides and then the armhole, the sleeve sides. So what I'm going to do now is to attach the bottom where I'm going to have the peplum. So I made a notch at the center front, and I also made a notch here. So what I want to use as my peplum is pleat instead of gaiter, and I wanted to use pin, but I decided that just doing it directly on the sewing machine would be easier for me. So I also made a notch on the fabric, in the center of this fabric, and I also made a notch here. So basically what I do, I don't start immediately with a pleat. I always go from, because as you can see I already gave it a dart here. So from my dart is where I have my pleat, but the center of my cloth is normally just straight, because I find that it gives you this, like, it gives you this illusion of a flat tummy, and it makes your waist look even smaller. So I prefer not to give it any bulk at the center. So I start here, my pleating starts from this dart, and then I keep adding. So I'm just going to do that now. I've put my machine at the center here. This is my center, and then this is one of the darts in front of my top. This is the second dart. So from this point of this center to this point, I'm not going to give it any pleat. This is the part I'm using for the pleating. So I'm just going to sew. So I've reached the point where I have these darts that I gave, the breast darts. So now I'm going to start adding the pleat. So I'm just going to fold in. How I give my pleat is, all my pleats are going to be coming towards the center. So I'll just pick up a piece of fabric, fold it in, and then I sew on top of it. I pick up another piece, and then I sew on it. I close it back up and I sew. I just eyeball how much I'm using at each time. I pick up another piece, fold it, and then I sew the bottom of the peplum. And as you can see, I've already done one side of my zip. So now I'm just going to finish up the other side of this zip. So I folded it in this way and I've placed it on it. So it's supposed to be this way. I folded it, placed my fabric on it. So now I'm just going to sew. So I open it up just to give it more room as I sew. And then so here, get to the waist. This is the end product. I've gone ahead and attached the top and the bottom. I decided to add a belt to it. So that's the end of the video. Please, if you liked the video, please like, share and subscribe. Bye.